Alright guys, we're back at PTS Fab once again, and we are working on this gorgeous thing. Hopefully everything goes smooth. I'm making this intro at the beginning, so I got my fingers crossed that everything is going to go to plan, but hopefully we're going to make some serious noise with this thing today. Before we do that, obviously, please like, share, subscribe, leave me a comment, let me know what you think, and share it with your friends. If you like cars and they like cars, then they might want to see this video as well. They may not have seen it yet.
Best friends don't keep secrets.
So do me a huge favor, just post it to whatever social media you got. All right, so like I said, we're gonna be working on this gorgeous thing here. We're not gonna be doing a crazy amount. So this was tuned by somebody else, a very reputable tuner, very reputable builder. It's really a proven package. So one of Nick's customers, the same guy who owns the Falcon that they're working on way back there, owns this one. And this thing is a true street class legal monster of a car. We're talking full interior, comfortable to drive, 275 tire in the rear, big block, big turbos, lots of power. We're gonna basically just clean some things up a little bit today. So right now it's on E85. There's a couple of calibrations that he sent over that were for specific runs, like some all-out passes. Very, very quick. I don't know if I could say the times because I don't know if this is gonna be a no-time car or not. It's been over a year, I think, since it's even run a time. So all of those old times are pretty much invalid. So I don't wanna say the times and kind of restart that whole stupid grudge racing crap. So the only problem is so far, it had a lot of issues at first. The fuel cell in the back was bare aluminum, and it was really starting to get all messed up from having ethanol and methanol in there. And it started getting run through the fuel system and clogging it up really often. So after cleaning out the injectors and the fuel filters a couple of times because they just kept getting reclogged from the stuff that was going on in the tank, they got a new tank, so that shouldn't be an issue anymore at all. Now, the way that it runs right now, gets up on the brake fine. I'm assuming power is gonna be fine. We're gonna try to check that out today, putting it on the dyno. But, tip in, throttle response, driving it around, daily driving RPMs, Nick says is, really crappy right now. I don't know, we'll see how it is when we get into it. So maybe it's just something that wasn't really touched up very much because the majority of the time that this thing got driven, I think it was on methanol. I may be wrong, but either way, we're going to dig into it and really take a look. We already had some issues with the TPS was failing, and then obviously all of the injector stuff that I talked about. There was a couple other just like minor things that were wrong that he had to, or not wrong, but broken or failing or whatever. It's not a brand new setup here. So there's some stuff that had some age on it. The TPS was one of them, and it was creating some issues. So hopefully all of that stuff is done and good now, and all we have to do is clean up some fueling on tip in and daily driving, or identify another sensor that may be screwing us and making that not as clean as it originally was. That is the plan. We will hop in there, pull it outside, and dig into it. All right, one of the things that's pretty funny about this car is, unfortunately, it's made for a giant, so I brought some sleeping bags to stuff behind me, so hopefully that'll enable me to actually drive it like a normal human. Because Nick fits in this thing perfectly. Yeah, anything that Nick fits in, I'm going to probably not even be able to touch the pedals on. Oh dude, we're in business. Oh yeah, I can reach both perfectly fine. I probably don't even need this much behind me, but this will actually work pretty nicely. Oh, can I even fit the steering wheel? Let's see. That's a little close, but for what we're doing today, this will be fine. Oh yeah. All right, cool. Got my car seat in. We're good to go. All right, so let's see how this thing cold starts real quick. I'll leave all of that off. I don't think actually the fuel pump, it runs off a mechanical pump, but it's also got an electric pump. I don't know why that's not turning on. Maybe this needs to be on. Yeah, fuel pump turns on there. Okay, yeah, so fuel pump primed. Let's hope that helps. All right, let's see how it starts. Oh, dang it. It was almost going to stay on by itself. A little cold, no biggie. Took a little while cranking, just I think the electric pump wasn't on long enough. I wonder, I could probably keep this on and it'll help. Actually, the mechanical pump's primed now. It should be fine. figure that out. Should be able to stay on at least after the first crank. I think it normally idles pretty low, like 800 or something like that. So when it's cold, it's gotta definitely be right. It's way lean right now. Probably make a change in the base table or find out if we're actually firing on all cylinders. All right, we'll try to move this thing back so that we don't suffocate ourselves. Make some changes. All right, changing plan. I was making changes to it, driving around and everything, and then it started really not running great. Realized I have a fuel level sensor and it said 0. So went and checked the tank, and sure enough, it was really, really low. And since this thing's using a mechanical pump that is pretty big, it was really just sucking in a bunch of air basically. So since the customer right now isn't gonna do a whole lot of like driving around in the 85 stuff, we're gonna go ahead and just switch our efforts over to the methanol. So I'm gonna take one of the methanol tune-ups that came with the car and see how it runs on that, see if we even need to make any changes to you know, throttle response and drivability, just, you know, to easily be able to move the car in and out and get it on the dyno, you know, drive through the staging lanes. Nothing crazy. We're not trying to like go and do a drag and drive on methanol, but we just, you know, want it to be ready to go to the track and be able to drive on its own power to make a pass. Then hopefully, if all is well, we'll go ahead and slap it on the dyno. So we're gonna get what is left in the fuel tank out and then replace it with methanol and load up one of those calibrations and see how it goes. All right, let's start this up real quick. that pump's pissed again. Did you hear it? All right, luckily it runs off the other one. So what we're checking right now, the EGTs were showing that cylinder 1 and 2 weren't firing. So we're trying to confirm if that's real or not. Good? Okay. So those 2 EGTs must read false because Nick just did the temp gun on it and everything looked good. How much fuel we've used just driving it around and stuff.
What's the gauge set?
Oh, sorry, wrong button. God damn. Nobody should put the starter on the closest to the driver part of the panel. Hate that shit.
I'm pretty sure that's what every start button is.
Because when you're scrambling and shit, right? Like, I just crashed, there's fuel everywhere, I need to turn my car off. Where are you gonna want to be like, okay, that's that one. All right, one over. No, I just want to grab this thing and be like, bah. It matters. So then, and I don't want to accidentally push my starter when the thing's running, so my starter's all the way over here.
Really?
Yeah. So I ignition on and then I start over here. Cause what do I need? I don't need to push the starter ever again after it's running. So I want it as far away as possible.
All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay, what did it say?
18.
18, and same as before. Ready for noises? All right, so I think we're ready to make some proper noises. We wanted to check and make sure. The reason why we started it up just a second ago is just to make sure that cylinders 1 and 2 is actually working, because the EGTs were reading like 60 degrees on there the whole time that we were running it and everything. So I just wanted to see if that was a screw up, like bad sensors, or if those 2 cylinders weren't actually working. So using the temp gun, they were in line with the rest of them, right? So whatever the other ones are doing, those 2 were doing as well. So we should be fine there. It still needs some work on tip-in. It's a lot better than it was, but if you give it a good amount of throttle, like really just, punch the throttle, it's doing some backfiring. Need to figure out what that is and resolve it. It may not be entirely fuel, because I messed with fuel and it got much better, but definitely still was kind of doing it. So I'll look at the logs that we were taking during that and figure it out. But the calibration that's in there should be good enough to go ahead and make some noises and stuff. Nick's wanting to take it to the track, so I really hope everything is good. I mean, if it's able to do a burnout, I'll be happy. It should be able to do a pass at least. I'll put in some safeties. So like when we take it to the track, if there's anything that's out of whack, not going right, then it'll just hit a safety. That is the one thing that I'm worried about, is that fuel pump. So that fuel pump doesn't work. If the calibration is entirely based on that fuel pump running in conjunction with the mechanical pump, so like the mechanical pump should be fine to run on its own, but if the calibration was done with that other pump in series, it might throw it off a little bit. I wouldn't think anything more than closed loop can take care of. So as long as we got closed loop on, we'll see if there's a big compensation. If there is, we'll try to get that pump back in there, or just modify the calibration to not need the pump anymore. If he's not going to be doing a whole lot of street driving and everything, maybe we just completely get rid of the electric pump and we just use the mechanical pump. So it starts up fine on it.
Yeah.
So we can probably make it start even a little bit quicker.
Most of the other mechanical pumps. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Much faster than Billy's and Troy's.
Yeah. Yeah, it builds pressure real quick.
Well, it's probably because the pump's in the back.
Oh, I gotcha.
Well, no.
I don't know. It's still got to fill the whole line.
Well, that and then.
Or maybe it doesn't have to fill the whole line, and that's why it's...
The pump's right next to the tank. So
Yeah.
They're far.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. This one definitely... It makes like 15 PSI within, I don't know, 4 or 5 seconds. And that was after we drained the line.
Yeah.
That wasn't bad at all.
We drained the line, but the pump was working.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So we just filled the line.
So,
Dang it. Okay. Well, anyway, it still should be... we can make it a little bit better, but it's definitely good enough right now. So we're going to go give it a whack real quick. Because it's always good to end a video on a good bit of noise. Stay nice and cool that whole time?
yeah.
It looked like 160.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good cooling system.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I said that we were done, but turns out we're not. So Izzy said that we could use his dyno next door. So we're going to go ahead and put this on there and shake it down. I really wanted to make sure that before we went to the track with this thing and put the customer in it, that we give it a proper shakedown. And honestly, a burnout out on the street is really not going to do anything. There's no load. We're not really, we're not testing boost control really. It's just, it's not a good test. There could be a lot of problems that are hiding themselves in just a no load burnout situation. It also gives us a chance to get really good real world data pulling with load so that I can go into the log, set up some safeties, the kind of stuff that we normally do on our calibrations, you know, from the one that's already in here. So if everything is good on this calibration, makes good power and whatnot, then I can look at all of the parameters, like what fuel pressure does it make by the end of the pull, what oil pressure does it make by the end of the pull, and then set safeties based on what we see as normal on the dyno. If we can get some good pulls on here, it'll be super useful. So we'll slap it on there now and see what it does. It made good power considering what happened. So we weren't even able to make a full pull. I don't know if you can kind of tell. It was getting a little bit angry, like maybe 3/4 of the way through the pull. We think what it is some spark blowout. We took a look at the log. Everything seems normal in there. There was nothing like, it wasn't going super fat right before the breakup. It wasn't going super lean or anything. Really all the data looks perfectly fine. So we're assuming that either the plugs are really messed up and gunked up, or you know, the gap is too big, or maybe both. I don't know. We don't know when these plugs got put in there, and they're a pain in the ass to change out, especially when it's hot. So we'll pull like one out just to see what the condition looks like, and then I guess kind of go from there on whether we need to troubleshoot further. But up until it was running into that breakup, is doing pretty good. This thing, so the first pass, I mean, it made probably about 9 pounds or so, like at the very end of the pull. You know, made a little bit under 1100. And then on this one, we were able to get a little bit more RPM out of it, but it was actually like right around 8.8, like just below 9 pounds. So basically the same boost, but we were able to get a little bit more RPM out of it. And it made like 1130 or something like that. So I don't mind saying these numbers, even if it's a grudge car or whatever. Like, this is, you know, not the boost that it's going to be running when it gets out there. And this is a super heavy car, so this is not like giving away any secrets or anything like that. All right, so we took a look at the plugs, and is pretty much what we suspected. Let me see. Oh, you look bad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Real nice.
that is nice. All right, well, oh, do we got any feeler gauges? I just want to see what they. I mean, yeah, they're dirty as shit, but.
Over there.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Yoink.
At least 30.
I'm zooming in. It's focusing on your face.
28.
At least smile while I'm focused on it. Hey, that worked. We forgot that when we first got this car fired up, or when the owner first brought it to us, and it ran like absolute garbage. We know what was going on. So Nick took a look at the injectors. They were completely clogged. The whole fuel system was clogged like crazy. So they cleaned it out. At the time, it was on pump gas. And so since it was running like absolute garbage, it was just dirtying up the plugs like crazy. Hadn't changed the plugs since the beginning. So they cleaned out the system, and then they tried it again, and it was on E85, which if it's running too fat, will still dirty up the plugs like crazy too. And same thing happened again. So it turned out it was the tank literally eating itself away, because it always had either methanol or ethanol in it. And it was bare aluminum. So if you remember what happened with Liam Neeson, same sort of thing. The tank ends up basically getting eaten away, and all of that debris gets sent through the system, clogs everything up. So They put a new tank in it, and everything was fine, but those plugs were just, it had a bunch of like startup time, idle time, you know, just moving it in and out of the shop while it was running like garbage. So these plugs are trashed. So that's probably all it is. We get up to about $7,000 and it just starts breaking up. Just needs a set of plugs, we're assuming. But we can't change that right now. So I think we are done for now. Pretty motivating. The curve that it's making, it's going to continue to increase power even on that same boost. So motor's healthy, setup is very healthy. Anxious to get it to the track and start turning with the boost. So next time you see this, it probably is going to have a new set of plugs and probably be at the track. I don't know that we'll put it back on the dyno, but we'll see how it goes. I think Nick is going to drive it out real quick and do some shenanigans. Getting blasted in the face the whole time. Whoops. Thought I was standing out of the way. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for this one. Do the usual, like, share, subscribe, send it to your friends. I'm gonna go catch my breath because I'm fat. We'll see you on the next one.